Welcome to a Positive Minds reading space. The name of this book is Nettie's Trip South. Dear Addie, you said, tell me about your trip south. Tell me everything. If we sat in our apple tree and I told you all, we would be there till the sun set. But these are the things I remember most. And though I'm only 10, I saw the slaves. I saw the South. Mother and father waved goodbye. The buggy creaked. I in my new furs, too excited to cry. And Sister Julia, grown up at 14. Brother Lockwood shouted directions and orders, excited to be on his first newspaper story. Father said, go, all of you. War may come soon, and this is your chance to see the South. I admit I jumped. I admit I screamed a little when the train shuffled and puffed and hooted into the station. My first train ride ever. Lockwood sat back and pretended to be calm. But Julia and I bounced and twittered until our lace collars scratched our chins. Addie, I was so worried. I was almost sick. Julia told me slaves are thought to be 3/5 of a person. It's in the Constitution. I'd never seen a slave and wondered, what were they missing? Was it an arm, a leg, a foot, or something inside? I couldn't ask Lockwood. He has such a sharp tongue, and Julia was busy being grown up. So I kept my worry to myself all the way south on the train across Chesapeake Bay. I looked and looked at black people, but I could not see what was missing. I stayed in my first hotel in Richmond. I asked our black maid, are you a slave? She nodded and said, Tabitha's my name. Don't have no other. Like a cat or a dog, Addie, with only one name. I looked and looked, but she had a nose, 2 eyes, a mouth, 2 arms, and though I could not see her legs, I saw her feet under her skirts. I sighed then, and Tabitha opened the windows. A sweet cedar smell rushed in. She sniffed and said, "That's the smell of the South, Missy." Next day, Brother took us on a buggy ride to a near plantation. Trees were like old men with tattered gray coats, and the sun pressed down on our heads. Sister Julia was thirsty and asked a boy for water. His face was so black and round and fierce, it could have been fired from a cannon in war. I saw where he got the water. There was a shack run down with heaps of rags in the corner, I think for beds, and a grandfather with his legs every which way lying on the rags. Everyone smiled and nodded except me. Some animals live better, Addie. The cedars didn't smell so sweet that night, and the smell got in my nose. As Brother walked and talked all that week. On Saturday, we went to town and stopped on a street by a green gate. A red flag outside said, "Negro auction today." I didn't want to go, Addie, but Brother said he had to see it for his story, pulled us in and sat us down. There was a platform. There was a fat man in a tight white suit. There was a black woman on the platform. "Jump, Aunt, jump!" the man shouted. Someone called out a price, and she was gone. Gone, Addie, like a sack of flour pushed across a store counter. There was a man with a face like the oak in our yard, all twisted, and he ran and jumped and was sold. And two children our age clasped hands but were bought by different men, and the man in the white hat had to tear them apart. I threw up, Addie, right there, with all the men and ladies about. They stepped aside and put their handkerchiefs to their noses. I wanted to cry, "I'm not what smells." But Brother took us home, walked so fast I knew he was mad. He made me lie down to rest while he and Julia packed our bags. I heard him say, "I've seen all I need to see." We left then, the sweet cedar smell still blowing in the wind, the sun like a warm hand and Tabitha waved from the doorway and told me to wear my furs. Addie, I couldn't wear my lace collar. I felt so raw and ill. We came home to the white and the ice. Julia won't talk of what we saw, but brother makes up for that. When you come in June, we will climb the apple tree to our perch, and I will tell you all I saw. Addie, I can't get this out of my thoughts. If we slipped into a black skin, like a tight coat, everything would change. No one would call us by our last names, for we would not have them. Addie and Nettie we'd be, until we were worn out and died. When someone called, we'd jump. We could not read in the apple tree with the sun coming through the leaves, for no one would teach us to read, and no one would give us a book. And Addie, at any time, we could be sold by a fat man in a white hat and a tight white suit, and we'd have to go just like that. Dear Addie, write soon. I miss you, and I have bad dreams at night. Love, Nettie. Thank you for joining me in this reading adventure. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.